When this Trump administration took responsibilities, so one of their top priority was to say goodbye to Paris Agreement, because Paris Agreement has been a global treaty. So why United States left, number one, and what will be the negative fallout of this on global climate change?
It's going to be very hard to say what he is doing and why he is doing. The negative impact would be there because he goes and drill, baby, drill.
Plastic waste. So it is the biggest cause of pollution and heat and water pollution. How to deal with, number one, and what are the health hazards of this plastic waste?
Plastic wears with the weathering, and also, with sun and everything, it turns into microplastic and nanoplastic.
What needs to be done to sensitize and educate common man around the world that please discourage use of plastic?
One thing which we lack is educating our young generation
to effectively deal with the climate change related disasters, particularly a country like Pakistan. What needs to be done on war footing basis?
First thing is that what I see is storage of water.
Storage of water.
Yeah, use the water as a resource. Look at this as a glass half full rather than half empty.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, climate change is a global issue. And when it comes to developing countries, countries like Pakistan, Pakistan is suffering most from climate-related issues. And it has now, we may call climate disaster. So, World Bank in Pakistan has funded many of the projects related to climate change. And the latest development is International Monetary Fund is also negotiating with Government of Pakistan on climate change. So 2 years back, Pakistan suffered massive floods. As a result of these floods, a very large portion of Sindh and South Punjab and certain portions of KP province completely devastated. Agriculture lands were severely affected. So finally, Pakistan went to the donors conference. International donors made certain pledges, but unfortunately, most of the pledges could not be materialized. To some extent, rehabilitation process is underway in affected areas of Sindh province. In the days to come, when climate change has become top priorities of different governments, how Pakistan is tackling with this issue? Do we have capacity in the future to deal with the climate-related issues? Do we have experts? And if there is an international funding from IMF or from World Bank, have we identified potential areas within environment and climate change that could be rightly focused with this foreign assistance, and improvement could be made so that in the days to come, there may not be climate disaster in Pakistan? To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us Dr. Shakil Saghir. He's a PhD in environment sciences. He is an expert and global expert on climate change, has been teaching in various Pakistani and global universities, have attended dozens of international seminars, conferences, and have contributed papers to various leading magazines. He's considered an authority on climate change. Dr. Shakil Saghir, sir, very warm welcome to program Insight. We'll start with this shortcut and to the point that what are the key areas of climate change that Pakistan is confronting, number one, and Pakistan need to have focus on these issues, on climate-related issues?
Thank you very much for inviting me. So, what I would say that this is not unusual from what we have been seeing for many years, the impact of climate change. We will see these kind of intermittent, very heavy rain and flood, followed by drought. And this is a cycle which we are seeing globally. Even in developed countries, we see extremely heavy rain and extremely heavy snow, followed by drought. Some of the floods, like in Florida, which we call once in 40 years or 50 years, now we are seeing once every 2 to 3 years. The developing countries are in much more difficult situation. One, because they don't have the resources to handle that, and also a lot of corruption, and people don't realize, and the governments are not prioritizing that how they want to handle this. There are certain things which this climate change have given to developing countries, where they can actually use this in their benefit in the prioritizing, for example, the water scarcity which we are seeing, and how we can actually improve that by storing waters. And we will talk about this in more detail. But, yes, it is not unexpected, and it is, it will happen more.
What is the major cause of these climate? When we say climate disaster, it is only smoke emissions, or this fresh heat wave, or what is the immediate reason of this that most of the countries are facing?
If we look at the reasons of climate change, we see the major issue is rise in temperature.
Rising temperature, heat wave.
Heat wave, which if we see that, okay, it's just hot weather. But if we look at the holistic picture, this hot weather causes much more evaporation of water from the ocean, which leads to very heavy rains in certain part of the world, whereas in other regions we see drought because just there are desert and things, and it is the precipitation is not uniform globally. It never been, and it never will be.
So what is the reason of rise in temperature? There must be some solid reasons.
If we look at the carbon emission is one of the major reasons for the rise in temperature. If we go historically, if we go 100 years, we see a very flat line when it comes to the emission of carbon per year. And then all of a sudden, after Second World War, when the Industrial Revolution started, we see higher and higher. And then because of the use of fossil fuel, use of coal for generating power, and increase in the transportation, because almost every country you go,
this is another reason of
heat waves and which are causing the carbon emission, because carbon causes this rise in temperature, because it absorbs the sun, heat from sun, and just retains there.
It is said that percentage of carbon emission in Pakistan is many times less than the developed world. But Pakistan is suffering most as far as climate disaster is concerned. What is the reason then? These carbon emissions are lowest, but despite the fact that we are the most affected country.
We live in the world. We are the global part of the global society. We cannot isolate ourselves from the rest of the world. If something happens in one part of the world, it will always impact. I will give you an example that the Sahara Desert, which is so far from Amazon forest, Sahara, the sand which blows from Sahara Desert fertilizes rainforest in Amazon. So we are living in very connected world. Now we are more aware of things with the technologies and things. But it always been. We are talking about, people talk about if Saudi Arabia or other countries who in the Sahara region, if they start to make their desert green, it will negatively impact Amazon forest. So think about that. So this is the reason. It's just we cannot isolate them. Oh, we don't generate that much carbon, so we don't have that huge carbon footprint. So we should not get this. No, we.
So coming to this, when this Trump administration took responsibilities, so one of their top priority was to say goodbye to Paris Agreement. So tell us why it has been so, because Paris Agreement has been a global treaty and a number of countries have shown very deep commitment with the Paris Treaty, because these countries which have shown a strong commitment, devotion, that they will carry forward the goals and objectives. So why United States left, number one, and what will be the negative fallout of this on global climate change?
So I will say two things. Yes, Paris Climate Accord was a good thing, but how many countries actually
adopted it?
Adopted. A lot of countries adopted, but how many countries has actually fulfilled their responsibilities in reducing the fossil fuel or to lower the temperature? None of the European countries. If you look at the European countries, many of the European countries, for example, Norway and Scandinavian countries, they have a huge oil-based economy. They haven't changed it. They blame everything on cows burping in India. So you have to think about this, that, they are committing, but commitment does not mean or translates into actual action. They are not taking any action. Now comes to Trump policies, it's going to be very hard to say what he's doing and why he's doing. The negative impact would be there because he goes and drill baby drill. And so we will see more drilling and increase in fossil fuel. It's hard to say what Trump and why. I think this is just based on his what he dreamed in the night and comes morning.
Do you have any specific statistics? How much United States used to contribute earlier when it was part of Paris Agreement globally? How much was American financial contribution to climate change related initiatives?
It's huge. I don't have the exact number in my mind. I have not reviewed it recently. However, the impact of US use of fossil fuel and the way they handle the issues of climate change is just abysmal. It's just, it's not, we cannot even say that they have done much. There are a lot of people who are talking about it and pushing Congress, but when it comes to Congress, they are looking for their own constituents and the area they are elected. They don't want to lose their seats. They want, if they are coming from a place where coal is the primary
source of
employment, then they will not stop it, or they will not reduce it. So it's politics is a very dirty business.
So coming, Dr. Shakil Saghir Sahab, to Pakistan, and I've just briefly mentioned that 2 years back there have been devastating floods in Pakistan. Now Pakistan has negotiated with number of countries, with donors and these all things. So whether donors will execute, fulfill their pledges or not, that's a separate issue. International donors are giving substantial money to climate change related projects in Pakistan. So give your scholastic assessment. Do we have that capacity to focus on climate-related projects in Pakistan? Our environment and climate change-related institutions in Pakistan, do they have certain experts, consultants that they can come up with the different projects, the projects which are being funded by IMF and the World Bank?
There are two things which I would say in this. So when you say that there are a lot of commitment and there are a lot of fundings, in order to get commitment and translate that into funding depends on what we as Pakistanis can show have done before they will provide any funding. This is very catch-22 situation that we need to show them that we are capable and we are committed and we have started some project, and then we go to them and say, hey, we have done ABC, we want to
paperwork, exactly, strategies,
not
research
only
work.
paperwork, but actually start the work. You know, as a scientist, when we write grants, we actually show we run the experiments and we have the initial data, and then we ask for money to further it. Have we done that? When I was at United Nations 79th General Assembly meeting, people kept asking why Pakistan is impacted. Same thing what you asked, that Pakistan does not have that huge carbon footprint, then why are we? The thing is that, are we in a situation right now to keep asking why we, or we should actively start doing something? And I don't see that we have actually started actively doing something and then showing the global.
It is too late, really. Still, we haven't started anything.
We haven't started much. What I see is that a lot of people see these flood and things as a disaster. Yes, it is.
And disaster is taking place.
It
is knocking the door, exactly.
And it will keep taking place. It is not that it's one-time deal. The floods.
What does this shows? The lack of commitment by the political governments?
I don't know about their commitment, but I know that we are still in a situation where we want the answer from or we want to blame others rather than handle the situation which we are in. And the best way to do is handle the situation what we are in, similar to what Prophet Joseph or Yusuf did. So either we are going to be saying, okay, this is the disaster, how can we harvest or extract the maximum from it? Can we change this disaster into our favor? If we get more rain, the strategy should be to build smaller water reservoirs throughout the valleys, all the rivers which are flooded, and don't let it go into ocean.
We can keep the water safe and we can protect our cities from being flooded.
Being flooded, we will have the water for drinking purposes.
Exactly.
We will have water for irrigation, and also that will replenish the groundwater.
Exactly.
And we can actually flood the plains, which are called the replenishing zones of these some of the lakes and some of the things. So think positively. Glass is always half full. If you look at the glass half empty, then you are not going to go anywhere.
Exactly. So another important thing that you have been telling us, that is the plastic waste. So it is the biggest cause of pollution and heat and water pollution and different things. And Pakistan is a country where this issue is facing every city and every province. How to deal with, number one, and what are the health hazards of this plastic waste?
This is an issue which is very dear to my heart.
Very dear to your heart.
One is because of the aesthetic value. My wife is a Filipino, and even Philippines is not a developed country, but the cities are cleaned. They have replaced the use of single-use plastic. If you drive, you won't see
Plastic bags.
Yeah, they took out the shopping plastic
Totally
bags.
banned.
They are not totally banned, but they are their use is very limited, and they have the governance. One question which my wife keep asking whenever I drive to any city, that she said, "Aren't there any local government who are responsible for cleaning it?" And I don't have any answer for her. I don't know what to say. You go and you see these tons and tons of plastic.
Tons and tons of plastic.
Plastic everywhere. You go to any of the beaches in Karachi or around Karachi, I was surprised to see these plastic embedded in the layers of sand. So it is a huge issue. Plastic wears with the weathering, and also with sun and everything, it turns into microplastic and nanoplastic. Plastic has hazardous chemicals in it by itself, like phthalates, which are known to cause developmental toxicity in fetuses and also in young children, and also in women. Is banned in certain of those. There are many phthalates, and some of them are banned in many countries or many states in the US. So when it turns into micro and nanoplastic, they become more bioavailable. So the body is able to extract more chemicals because they are a smaller size. Example is crystal sugar or versus powder sugar, which will be dissolved faster. So then there are health issues. There are, these things go into water, the fish eat it, then that circulates into, and is taken up by plants and everything, and then basically it goes into food web, and we indirectly and sometimes directly in water we consume it, and it reaches brain. It's very new study which shows that it reaches brain and causes neurological effect.
That's very, very serious. Do you have any particular figure that how many million people around the world are affected due to these all climate-related disasters? Any particular figure that those people who have been affected, what's their figure annually?
I think that close to 20, 25%, 30%, even, one
of total population.
Of the total population. One thing which we see, that no matter where we go in the world, when we sample, we find plastic. So even in the area which we consider pristine is not pristine anymore.
So what is the reason? Is it lack of education on the part of the common man? And if it is so, what needs to be done to sensitize and educate common man around the world that please discourage use of plastic, please convert to this green technology, green usage of different things?
That's a very good question, and I will talk about Pakistan.
Exactly, please go ahead.
Because in a lot of other countries, there are a lot of educational programs. One thing which we lack is educating our young generation.
Educating young generation.
Young generation from the elementary schools. We have to have these things in our curriculum. We need to motivate them, have a special program for them to be part of cleaning the beaches, cleaning roads, cleaning things. So this should be a course that every student need to be
properly studied.
Not only study, you need to go on the road, clean it.
Practically demonstrated.
demonstrating. And in addition to educating them that this is, you recycle and this and that, in US, when my kids were growing up, if we throw something, which they consider it can be recycled, they will come and say, no, why did you throw in the garbage? This need to be recycled. This is recyclable.
Particularly paper-related products.
Yeah, and also plastic, bottles or cans. Another thing is that economy. We don't have a system in place where we can exploit these, for example, plastic, that we take these plastic and make people make money out of it. Do we have a incentive, or I'm not going to say incentive is when they are selling things and making monies, but in addition to that, we need to have some kind of system where I see myself that when the Coke bottles were of glass, when we go and buy those, we have to deposit the money, and get the bottle. We get that money when we return it. Can we initiate that kind of system where a person, when buys a Coke or any bottle, water, he pays? And a lot of countries and a lot of states in US, they actually have that. So when you bring your cans back, there is a recycling thing where you put it, it scans it, and it pays you back what the money you basically said. So we need to somehow force them. In addition to educating them, we force them. If we have some system like this, then if I don't care about small money, which I throw it out, someone else will pick it up because that's some money thrown out. So do we have that system? Do we, force them? Can we have social media? We need to use the social media and look at the way we did for cigarette. I see, those pictures and all those things. I think that discouraged many people from starting to smoke. I have seen when I was in 2009, I was associate professor at Aga Khan University, and my driver stopped smoking cigarette by seeing those pictures. So, we have to have a stick and carrot. So the carrot is that, or a stick, you say that you need to pay some when you get a bottle, or when you get, buy a lot of, in states, a lot of cities have that. If you want to take a plastic bag, they will charge you.
Exactly. Coming close to now, so you are a climate change expert. In COP27, a global fund was created, but we haven't seen that financial budget in that global fund that could deal with the climate change. Give us, our viewers, a figure to deal with these all issues. How much money is required to be deposited in the global fund that may deal with the climate change related issues?
We need a lot of money. And I don't think...
Any rough figure?
I will say at least, for the global...
It's globally, exactly.
Globally,
for
that's going to be in billions.
Vulnerable countries, exactly.
I think most vulnerable countries have to do a lot for themselves.
But definitely this global fund also need to make funding, and the global fund needs approximately, give some idea.
I mean, I don't have a figure how much we need, because that's some economists will be able to give you a better figures.
True.
What I can tell you that what we can do, beforehand, or I'm not sure whether you have heard of Plastic Bank. Is a for-profit organization which operates in many countries. They clean beaches, they clean from and those plastics, they actually buy it, and or they have some, and those some.
Is it operating also in Pakistan?
I'm not sure whether it is operating in Pakistan. They just started in Philippines, and someone actually reached out to my wife asking for me to become part of that their organization as an expert.
Okay, so as an expert, shortcut in 2 sentences, what is the way forward to effectively deal with the climate change related disasters, particularly country like Pakistan? What needs to be done on war footing basis?
First thing is that what I see is storage of water.
Storage of water.
Yeah, use the water as a resource. Look at this as a glass half full rather than half empty. That will solve a lot of our problems. In desert areas where people are, they don't have the fresh drinking water, they have these brackish water or sea water. There are very simple system which one can make at home to take the seawater, put it in this box, and box has a glass. It put it on the sun. It evaporates. Water evaporates, comes down, and that's a drinking water. There is a guy in Karachi University, because I'm also a judge for the Pakistan Idea Bank. So that I really like that project which he came up with.
It's workable. Country like Pakistan, how Pakistan can reduce these carbon emissions?
Electric cars.
I'm not
sure about that, because then there are arguments that there are too much environmental damage goes behind the scene before electric cars are actually coming to the market. The use of the recharging and things. I would say, just open air burning is one of the huge issue in Pakistan.
Open air burning, that must be banned immediately.
Again, you cannot ban without educating people. So we have to educate people using social media, using school students, using college students, motivate them, bring them out on the road for to actually help to know, so they will actually be the ambassador for the future.
And a shortcut advice to the government as a climate change expert:
take it serious.
Thank you so much. Advice to the government is take this climate change very seriously. Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Shakil Saghir Saab, and climate change global expert. And dear our viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Allah Hafiz from studios.